I'm Lex.
And I'm Tay.
And this is our take on college. All right, everybody. Welcome back. We are excited for today's episode. It's going to be a good one. This is what we wish we knew, or things we wish we knew as freshmen. We're going to start off today's episode with a little bit of a weekend recap. We had a really fun weekend, and then we'll kind of just get into it. Tay, if you want to talk about this weekend?
Yeah, so this weekend was my 20th birthday. We actually were able to get a lot of my family together, and that was really fun. And we had a little tailgate celebration. Then Lexi was there, of course, and then a couple of my other friends from home came up, and then some of my other friends from home that go here came as well. And then, family, friends, and things like that. And we just really had a tailgate and we celebrated. I had a little cake and a cookie cake, and it said something about IU on it. And I thought it was so cute. My mom did such a good job putting it all together, and I'm really thankful for her and everybody that was able to come up and see me. I don't know, it's just really special, and it's hard for me sometimes, living 2 hours away from them. And then I have younger cousins, and then I have a younger brother too, so I'm missing a lot of stuff that, my younger brother was, there for me and stuff. So it's really good every time I get to see him and catch up with him, and just to see my grandparents and, the fam, and it was a really good time. I actually got a really cool gift from my aunt and uncle. It's a signed Bobby Knight picture, and it's the one of him throwing the chair. So it's actually really iconic, and I'm getting it professionally framed. So that was, all in all, really good day, really good food. That was our Saturday. Our Saturday was really fun.
I was going to say that my favorite parts of your birthday were, 1, the different dips. 2, the fact that your Uncle Chris played birthday bitch. And then 3, I was just thinking about it and now it's slipped my mind. Oh my gosh. Oh, there was something else that was really good and I can't remember. If it comes to me, we'll talk about it. But it was really fun. It was super good to celebrate Taylor. I was very excited. I got to see her family, some of her family that I've never met before, which was super fun. And my weekend Taylor's birthday was really good. I just haven't, as you guys know, I haven't been feeling well for quite some time. I had to get tested for COVID 3 times last week. Thankfully, all of it came back negative. But it's kind of just been really difficult on top of school and everything, and just making sure that I mentally am doing well. But some fun things on my end besides Taylor's birthday is that just a little something funny today was that I'm a leader for the Delight chapter here at IU. And if you don't know what Delight is, it is a women's college ministry that caters and fosters community. It's like a Bible study that you do every semester, and you kind of just meet new people and just spread the word of Jesus, which is super fun and cool. And currently in the works of trying to get Taylor to join next semester after she doesn't have class. But I'm a leader, like I said, and today our Bible study is about, or our piece of the Bible study is about joy and finding joy in things that you wouldn't necessarily find them in. And I think that's something that's really important for me right now. And I feel if anybody is struggling with that, I want you to know that I understand you, and I can assume that Taylor probably has felt that way before as well. So we just want you to know that we're always thinking of you guys. We appreciate we appreciate all of our listeners. We appreciate all of the love that we've received since we started, and we're really excited about where this is going. But that's kind of been my weekend and a little touch on that. So like I said, today we are doing the things we wish we knew as freshmen, and I'm going to have Tay actually kick us off on this one. So Tay, we want to get into it, what is our first little tidbit?
Yeah, so our first little tidbit is learn the bus route early. So I am blessed to be an intern at a law office, and two of the people that I am so gracious to work with actually went to school here. So one of my coworkers' advices was learn the bus route, ride the bus. She was like, I spent so much time walking in the snow just because I thought I was like too cool for the bus. So coming from her, it was like, okay, because like I think she's one of the coolest people ever. So I was like, okay, yeah, like we're learning the bus. So we actually, it took us a while because we were like, everybody's on the bus. Like we're never gonna figure out how to like, get to our class on time, let alone get on the bus to begin with, because half of them always say bus full and they won't even let you on. But yeah, so we like learned how to ride the bus, and that was a big thing for us, especially in the winter and when it was raining too. That was really big for us. So yeah, and I sent the picture to Lexi already, but I'm gonna have her insert the picture of if you're watching, of the very first time we rode the bus, because we successfully made it on the bus and we were so proud of ourselves. We sent my mom a picture and we were like, we made it on the bus. Like we were so happy. But yeah, definitely good advice from the person I work with, ride the bus. It definitely helps. And we personally always use the IU mobile app for the bus. We never really used, what is that, Duo Bus? I don't even...
Bus Genius.
Yeah.
So actually, I was going to tell Taylor this when we got into it. I have been using Bus Genius a lot more, only because I've noticed that like our freshman year, the mobile app was like very good about updating. However, for my specific bus route this year, because I live on a different part of campus that requires a different bus, the B bus system is the one that I take. And for some reason, Bus Genius is always on top of like the schedule of understanding where the bus is or when it's going to be at my stop and like things like that. For some reason, it just seems to be a lot catered toward a bit more catered towards the B bus route. But I've heard great things about Bus Genius. We love the IU mobile app. It's kind of just about preference, but I would say right now I am kind of a Bus Genius gal.
Yeah, and it doesn't really help that they changed the bus routes again. So we were just talking about this the other day. From where we lived last year, we would always ride the F bus. We saw the F bus the other day while we were walking on a completely opposite side of campus that we never went to. I was like, why am I seeing the F bus over here right now? I was like, it never went there ever. So then like that whole thing is confusing, and I think that's why, we kind of preach use the apps, because you never know. And then sometimes with the actual like Bloomington bus system, which that's pretty cool that they let the IU students use it. All you have to do is show your Crimson card and it's free. But there are multiple buses with the same numbers on them. Like I know at my apartment it's number 9, but there's 2 number 9 buses. One of them goes a different, like it stops at a different point, like on the edge of campus, and then the one will take you all the way to Kroger on South Walnut, over by South Walnut. So you need to be checking the apps.
So, some fun bus stories that we have. I think most of them really are like, obviously, like Taylor said, the first time we ever rode the bus, we took a picture to commemorate it, kind of like how your parents do on the first day of school when they're not driving you anymore. That was kind of our thinking behind that. But the basics of like the fun bus stories were like the amount of times that we ran into people that like we really never in a million years would have thought that we would have run into again is just crazy. Like, campus is so big and there are so many people here. It's like, how do you run into those people on multiple occasions, let alone on the bus on different days of the week? It's not like a routinely schedule where you see them and you're using the bus at the same time always. Like it literally was just the most random things. Like I use the B bus almost every day to get to class because I'm kind of on a further part of campus now. And like most of my classes are on the opposite side. So I don't ever see these same people on the bus. And I take the bus every day at the same times, like weekly. It's just crazy to me. So that's like what's really the funny bus stories about that was that like you just would run into people that you probably were like, oh, I didn't think I was going to see you again. That's really awkward, but that's kind of it for like the bus. Just make sure that you learn the bus route. Like Taylor said, use the apps. Those are there for you. And it's better than, having to trek across campus in the really bad weather. The next point kind of goes along with that is walking your schedule. You honestly should be doing this like throughout or every year, I feel like, because just because you've been on campus for like 3 years or whatever doesn't mean that you still know where everything is. Because last year I feel like I had a really good mix of classes across campus, and I even had a class that was literally behind 3rd Street in the optometry building, if you know what I'm talking about. And I loved that class, but like there were still buildings that I had no idea existed, and I have classes in them, and I have to go in and navigate and find the classroom. It's not just like one floor, and it's not always like the most easy. You walk in, and I guess the best example of that would be Ballantine. I feel like you walk into Ballantine and it's just the same kind of structure on every floor, and it's like, how many floors? 8 or something. There's a lot of floors, but it's the same thing over and over and over again. It doesn't really change. But like I have a class in Sycamore Hall. Didn't know that it existed. And I also walked in and was like, you open a door and it's a random stairwell that's like very tight. And then for my class, you have to go down the stairs, open the door, and then it's just a random like mirage of rooms, and you're like, what? So it doesn't matter what year you are, obviously, especially if you're a freshman, but it really doesn't matter what year you are. Walk your schedule, find where your classes are, because I promise you, if you think that you're too good for maps or Google Maps to find where your building is, you're crazy. And also just assuming that when you show up on the first day, you're going to find the class immediately, you're probably going to end up wasting half of the class time just trying to find the classroom because you didn't do it the week before school started. So definitely walk your schedule and find the classrooms, not just the building. Tay, what do you think?
Yeah, so I actually have a very interesting story about this. So freshman year, I had a class in the biology building. I'm not a biology major. I have nothing to do with biology on like a daily basis. So I just knew of the building, right? Like I had no idea like it even had a basement. So I'm like walking around, and the number for the classroom was like 025. So I'm assuming that the first floor, like the entrance with the big glass doors, I'm assuming that's like floor 0, right? So I spend like which it was a good thing I left like relatively early for that class that day, because I was nervous about finding my classes to begin with. I had walked like my schedule, but for some reason I didn't go in the bio building. Don't know why. That was dumb on my part. I assumed it didn't have a basement, but it does. So I'm walking around, I'm looking for 025, and I'm like, I cannot see where this classroom is. So then I'm walking around, and there is a big group of people forming around classroom 125. So I'm like, hey, and don't be scared to do this either. If you have to ask what class it is, please ask. Because you're only hurting yourself if you sit through a class that is not your class and then you miss the one you're supposed to be in. So I was like, hey, like, what class is this? And they said, oh, we think this is class blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's the one I'm looking for too. But like it says 025. And they're like, yeah, we know. We really can't find 025. So it was like half of my class had no idea, because they were freshmen too, because it was technically a freshman class. And they had like no idea where it was. So then a kid comes out of like a stairwell, but it was big blocked off double doors that we thought was like an exit to the building. So nobody walked over there and walked through these giant double doors, right? We walk over there. It's a slim stairwell. Like it is not wide at all. And we're like, okay, well, I guess we're going to try it. Either we're going to get like trapped in a maintenance room, or like this is where our class is. So we go down those stairs. We're like in the basement of the bio building, like walking around, like we have no idea what's going on. We finally find it. It's like in the back corner. The lights are like off, like in the basement. And we're all like, what's like going on? So then we finally get there, and our teacher is just chilling in there. She was like, oh, I was about to post an announcement like that the classroom was hard to find. And we're like, well, no, duh. We all just spent, I don't know, 35 minutes trying to look for your classroom, ma'am. Like, are you kidding? And then another thing with the Google Maps, though, so when you type in like Lindley Hall, for example, it's going to take you to the back side of the Swain buildings, Swain East and West, and it's going to take you to the back side of that building, and it's not going to tell you which building's Lindley Hall. But you're going to about face, and you're going to turn the other way, and Lindley Hall is right there. It won't take you directly to the front of that one. Usually it takes you to like the front door, but like Lindley Hall, you got to turn around and just look for the sign, because the sign is weirdly on the back side of like the building. Well, technically it's the front, because like if you're looking from Sample Gates, like that's the front, but like it'll take you around the back of the building. So you're looking at the back of the building like, what building is this? So you got to turn and you got to look for the signs. And if you have to ask, just ask, because everyone else has felt like the way you're feeling. Like nobody knows where everything is right off the bat. Like don't be scared to ask questions and leave for class early. Don't just expect to get there right on time like the first week. Try to, if you can, if you're not coming straight from another class, try to just give yourself time to sit there and just decompress after, trying to find that class. So that's my advice on that. So the next point we have is, we know they say it 1,000 times on the tours at orientation, but office hours actually help. So I'm going to be completely honest. Office hours are the only reason I did good in Spanish. My teacher, love her to death. She just had so much grace and so much patience that if you were taking your time and like showing effort and you were coming to her office hours to attempt to learn, she cut you a little slack. Maybe your pronunciation wasn't the best, which that was what my issue was, because apparently I have an accent, but like that's besides the point. I don't think I do. But I kept going to those office hours and she kept seeing that I was trying. So like, yeah, if I didn't, pronounce something exactly correct in class, but I raised my hand to at least try, she recognized that I was one of the familiar faces coming to her office hours. And I think that that's what ended up helping me do a lot better at the end. And that's the best time to ask questions, honestly, because sometimes in your classes you have people that are just trying to show off. And I don't like that. But I mean, if you want to ask a question, go to your office hours. I'm going to say majority of your teachers are going to be so patient and just so genuine and helpful.
Yeah, I agree with both points, obviously, with what Taylor just said. But on this third one, it is really important to utilize office hours, utilize your professors, utilize your AIs. I'm currently in American Sign Language, and it is, we just had our first exam today, and it is, one of those things when you're learning a language, whether it's a visual or a verbal language, you really should be utilizing, and not just that class, obviously, your math classes, whatever class that you know that you might not be picking up the fastest, or even classes that you're good at. Go to your professors, go to your AIs, go to office hours. They will appreciate the fact that you are showing up, the fact that you are wanting to be there, the fact that you are showing initiative, and they will take that into account when it comes to potential extra credit or rounding a grade or, being lenient when you become sick or something like that. If you are showing that you are putting an effort and the dedication, then they are more than likely going to appreciate that, and you will probably get something out of it. The next thing is take good notes. That's something that a lot of people say and a lot of people talk about, but genuinely, it's as basic as that. You need to be taking good notes. You need to find a system that works for you, whether it's color coding, if it's, writing your notes a specific way in the organization that you do it. Utilize it, because not all professors are going to post their lectures. Not all professors are going to record them. Not all professors are going to post their slide deck. Like, I have one professor who does post his slide deck, but then I have another professor that doesn't. And they're on the same day. And then the same thing with my ASL teacher. We do not have the slide deck from that class, which really, again, is a visual thing. But like as far as my other two classes go, it would be really beneficial to have the slide deck for both. But that's the importance of taking good notes, is like you won't always have something to fall back on. And that's really the way that you retain information, is writing or doing things over and over and over again, not just reading it or listening to it. You should be physically, writing or typing. That way your brain can retain it faster and better. But that's kind of like my thing. For me, my good notes are obviously like color coding, as well as having a certain format that I follow. But everybody's brain works different. So like I'm not sure that what works for Taylor would work for me, especially because we're also in two very different majors. But find a way to take good notes, because honestly, it's really what's going to help you, obviously, besides going to office hours in the long run.
Yeah, so I know a big thing with me is like the active listening. So I don't particularly like taking notes on my computer because I feel like I'm learning it twice if I'm sitting there writing it. And I feel like if I'm writing it, I have to be more engaged. Like I'll sit there and I like to sit close to the front, but there's still some people that sit in front of me, which I don't know why, if you're going to do what I'm about to say, why you would sit in the front, but that's besides the point. For example, these girls were sitting there today in front of me on Amazon picking out their Halloween costumes. Like I know one of them is going to be Little Red Riding Hood. Like I didn't need to know that. Like, and it distracts other people. So I'm trying to like actively listen and I'm trying to write. And that's just like, that's just a pet peeve of mine. Like if you're not going to pay attention, please sit in the back. Because I'm sitting there, I'm trying to write down like everything. Like I'm desperately trying to actively listen to this professor, because sometimes some professors really aren't good at, lecturing. This one that I'm talking about, he pulls up a Word doc. He doesn't do slides. He pulls up a Word doc with bullet points. He will barely talk about the bullet point, and then he'll go on a tangent about what we're learning, but like it's not on the bullet point notes that he sends out. So you're missing half of the important stuff by not actively listening and just writing down what's on the screen. So that's my take on it. Like, I know some people, are different, like visual learners, things like that, but the active listening is just so important. And just be respectful to others learning around you, because I really think that that's a big thing. And I know one of my professors for my law and public affairs class actually banned electronics, like completely in our room, because things like this was happening. And he was like, well, a study from, I think it was like Carnegie Mellon. That's a college, I guess. I'd never heard of it. But he was like, a study from Carnegie Mellon said that electronics like hinder like note taking and things like that. So then he completely just like banned it. And I was like, good for you. You tell him. Like, and honestly, that class, I feel like I'm doing so much better no matter where I sit, just because of the fact that, I can actively listen. That's my take on that one. So the next one we had was prioritize your assigned readings. You never know when a pop quiz is going to happen. So I actually had an instance recently where I was not up to date on my reading, and we had a pop quiz. So I was able to get a 3 out of 5 on this pop quiz. That's not the best, but I had done 0 reading. It just flipped my mind because I had a test in another class. The one class before that, I didn't do the reading because I was trying to study for that test. And, it got me there. So definitely prioritize those assigned readings and highlight. That's my main point there. And take notes on the readings as well, because you'll need that as well.
Yeah, so with mine, the format of my classes, I luckily would not have to deal with that. for the most part. Like today, we did actually have a pop quiz, but it was more so about what's going on in the media, not really like an assigned reading. So more just that you're being an aware citizen, which I feel like is equally just as important because, you know, when you leave college, you're going to be living in the real world and you're not going to have a lot of things to rely on. So being up to date on the important things that are going on in the country, that are involving our country, things that are going on in pop culture that could lead to, you know, something big happening in the future, whatever that may be, just kind of being up to date on that as well. But obviously, it is really important that you do the readings that are assigned, you highlight, you annotate everything that you need, you know, obviously would seem as important. You know, if your professor tells you to read it and make sure that you know it well enough that you can answer a random question over it. So yeah, just basically do your homework. That's what we're trying to say here is as much as it's fun to kind of throw it off to the side and wait, that's really not going to be beneficial in the long run. Someone I know lately has been doing pretty poorly in class because they choose to participate in other activities outside of school more than school, which again, as much as college is about having fun and kind of messing around at times, we are here paying thousands of dollars to get a degree. So it is important to obviously prioritize school, because that's what college is. I love to have fun. I love to do fun things, but you know, there are times where we need to realize that we should be prioritizing other things. So make sure that you do your homework and be aware that pop quizzes still exist. Our next point is go to discussion. That's another point of obviously just do your work, go to class, talk with your professors. Discussion is great. You can meet good friends, people who have similar interests as you, whatever it may be. Discussions are usually really small. That way you can also get attention if you need it as far as like questions or anything goes. It's usually run by an AI. Could be by a professor. Most of the discussions I have are by an AI. So go to discussion because those count, again, just as much as a lecture does. And discussions are a really good time to kind of, you know, talk with other people, see what they are kind of thinking about the same subject and see if you can get maybe an insight in a different way. I love discussions like more than lecture, which I think most people do, but go to discussion.
Yeah, so I know for me personally, I took statistics last year, and discussion was not mandatory, but if you went, you got a whole extra credit point for each time you went. So that class was structured, the max points you could get in that class was 100. Like, you couldn't get any higher than 100. Like, simple, the tests were like 18 points or something. Homework was a point, and then point system, and then like individual questions on the homework were point system, which not my favorite, but you know, that's how that one was. And you could get a whole extra credit point up to 10 points. So if you're thinking about it, you could potentially increase your grade by 10% by just going to discussion. So that's why I'm like a big advocate for it, because I'm not a math person. I struggled in stats, and then my TA was actually like, so what are you struggling with? We're going to help you. Because like, even though it was like not mandatory, barely anybody was there. So there, out of the 25 kids that were supposed to be in that discussion, on a weekly basis, 5 of us were there. So personally, you got one-on-one attention. Like if you were like, hey, number 16 on the homework's like really giving me a hard time. Like, can you please explain? She would sit there and go through the whole like step process with me, and then ask me questions as I was going to make sure I was retaining what she was telling me. So, I mean, it's just so detrimental, and I think it's so important, and I think people take discussions for granted, and they're just like, oh, it's Friday, I'm just going to skip it. Please don't skip it. If you're not getting something in lecture and you're not comfortable going to office hours by yourself, discussion is another resource that's going to help you. And honestly, most of my classes, it's just a reiteration of what we learned that week in that class. So if you need a second, like, refresher, like, hey, like, I'm really not getting this, that's another place where you can just ask for help. And I think that most people don't utilize that enough. So our next topic was use a planner, and it's not just for the aesthetic. So I actually wasn't crazy big on a planner. I used an Excel sheet. That was a personal preference thing, but this year now I'm using a planner because I didn't want to sit there and fill out the Excel sheet. But yeah, so planner is definitely good, not just to, help prioritize your time, but also help you keep track of due dates, things like that. And yeah, that's my take with the planners. Lexi was more into the planners than I was, but yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I cut Tay off there for a second. But yes, I'm really big on planners. If you guys know me in real life, I advocate for a brand that unfortunately has decided to stop making, she's a small business out of Noblesville, Indiana. She actually went to school at Butler University, which is here in Indiana, in Broad Ripple. And she dealt with trigger warning, suicidal thoughts, and even tried to harm herself. And so when her attempt was unsuccessful, she decided to take the feelings that she was dealing with and create something beautiful. And she started making her own planners, and people across campus would see them, and her friends would be like, "Where are you getting this from? Can I buy it? Where can I get it?" And she was like, "I actually make them." And so her friends convinced her to start her own company. And she, I believe, was just shy of a decade that she was creating these planners and putting out new designs every year. I have been a patron of her for over 5 years. I love her and her company very dearly, and I was very sad to see her make the announcement. But, there are just times where we have to do what is best for ourselves. And at this point in life, she's engaged. And I think for her, it was just time to kind of step away. I have a feeling that in the future, she's going to come back. But my point to that is that I recommend brands, small businesses, obviously, but brands that focus on mental health. And a planner is supposed to help you stay organized and help you calm down. So finding a planner that, keeps track of your habits and your water intake and, the food that you've been eating lately, and has quotes and fun doodle space. Shop Live Inspired is the brand. So you still have time if you want to go get planners. You definitely can. I, recommend selling her out because she, won't be back for a while. So buy up the things that she has if you can. And she's also on her Instagram put out a couple of different things of different companies that she recommends. I personally think I'll be transferring over to Papier, which is a bigger company, but they do have wellness and health journals on top of normal planners. So I think I'm going to have 2 individual ones, but get a planner, color code, doodle, bullet it up, have so much fun with planners. I feel like, they are aesthetic, but they really do help me with my anxiety and everything. So utilize a planner. It truly makes a big, big, big difference. The last couple of points we've got are campus celebrities and just take a walk. I think we're going to kind of put these two together. But Campus Celebrities is a really fun game to play with your friends when you're walking around. Taylor and I will call each other or text one another when we see somebody or, something silly happens. It's really fun. It allows you to have fun with your day. You're like, ooh, I saw so-and-so, and not in a gossipy way, just a very fun way to just be like, oh my gosh, Tay, you're never going to believe this. I saw this person, said hi, gave him a hug, or I saw this person, I never thought that I'd see them again, things like that, fun stuff like that. So Campus Celebrities is really fun. But on top of that, just taking a walk, I use campus. It's absolutely beautiful. We're very, very lucky that we have a lot of nature within our campus. So taking a walk through Dunn Meadow, or behind the Fine Arts and the Neil Marshall Center, that kind of area where you walk up to the president's house and stuff like that. That whole area is really, really gorgeous. Just anywhere, the fountain, obviously. Just taking a walk around campus and really taking in the beauty of it, I think is super beneficial and honestly really, really helpful for when you're stressed or, you kind of just need a break from things. I wish that I would have done that more as a freshman for sure, is just kind of, one, have fun with walking around campus, but also just remembering that it's a really good stress reliever as well.
Yeah, so I added just take a walk onto the, little outline, because this year I, for some reason, have just like, I don't know, forgotten how to do school. And I've just been like really stressed with like my classes and things like that. And I was really struggling one day, and I remember I was talking to my mom, and she was like, Taylor, just take a walk. And I was like, what? And she was like, you've been telling me how you've been trying to read for 3 hours. Like, just take a walk. And I was like, oh, okay. So I just took a walk, and I was just breathing, trying to just sit here and enjoy like where we are and think about other things besides what I was like stressing about. And, I think it really helped. And I definitely suggest that, like, if you're stressed, like, just, you don't even have to walk like very far. Just like go outside. I don't know, touch some grass. Because I know during like finals week and stuff, like everybody's going to be so stressed, and you're not going to want to leave your room, or you're not going to leave Wells, or that one computer lab that's always full at Wells with the poor, what is it, K201 kids. I felt so bad for them last year. I was like, I hope I never feel that stressed. Well, here we are. So, yeah. So anyway, just take a walk. That's our advice.
Yeah, so today's episode was kind of short and sweet. Taylor and I both have things going on tonight, but we are going to have a really fun and a little bit of, the normal length episode later this week. I think, again, we're kind of pushing back special guests just because we kind of need to block that out a little bit more, but we have so many fun things coming. We're really excited about that Halloween episode that's going to be coming up in a couple of weeks, but we just want to remind you guys, no matter where you are in your college journey, that we are here for you and that we love you and we want to hear from you if you ever need anything from us. Obviously these were things that we wish we knew as freshmen, but they also pertain to every other person that is here on campus as well. So we love you all very, very much. And this has been Lex
and Tay,
and our take on college.